Ben Batista, an agent who's only been in the business for about a month and just had a $10,000 week last week. I'm rounding up a little bit. It was like $9,925.
If you are genuinely helping somebody and you really care about that person, the money's going to come, right? It's going to come through one way or another. So focus less on the money, focus more on the person. Focus more on how you can help and just being the best part of yourself that you can. Everything will fall into place. It always does.
But I wanna take a second and kind of show you guys this, because Ben's ramp up, Ben's transformation has been insane. So I'm gonna walk you guys through some of the weeks that he's had over the last few weeks and just watch this ramp up here. So week 1, 265 spent on leads, 797 in AP. Next week, 635 spent on leads, 4,700 in AP. The following week, 736 spent on leads, 2,600 in AP. And just last week, $852 on leads and $9,925 in annual premium. Ben, I feel like I've given you quite the intro. Welcome to the channel. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, obviously a $10,000 week, that's pretty huge. How long have you been in the business for?
Maybe since May. Just started writing in mid-June. So, the sales didn't really start happening until probably second week of June.
Okay. So you said you got into the business in May, like licensed, got contracts, everything. Started writing in, you said, the middle of June?
Yeah. So end of May is when I got the license done. Started building up the structure of the business. Started getting, leads and things, and then really just started doing the dials and started really focusing on the sales probably like second week of June. It might have been, I did some sales the first week of June, but really started focusing in the second week of June.
Yeah. So $10,000 week, that was like your third or fourth week in the business?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay. Awesome. Well, I want to break that down because there's obviously a lot of people that are new to the business, or, sometimes people that have been in the business for a long period of time that never see that success. So can you kind of just break down, like, from a high level overview, how are you writing so much business?
Well, the first part is, getting contacts, connecting, right? And then dialing in, focusing in. So the first step really was to find some people to kind of help me focus on what I need to focus on. And then at that point, do some role plays, get familiar on the calls. And then once you get a script that works, really start, honing that in. And then just, I've made some changes here and there that work for me, but overall, you want to make sure that you're talking about sounds, confident, and then build some trust as well.
Okay. So it sounds like go ahead, Julian.
I was just saying that's good stuff. I think you've got to make it your own for sure. I mean, if you're sounding like a robot, people are just not going to trust you ultimately. I'm pretty curious to hear a little bit more about like where you were before all of this. Because I remember our conversation, I think this was now about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of conversations and, a lot. I mean, I talk to people literally all day. It's what I do. So, I have a lot of conversations. Some people are just making a little bit off of their leads. Some people are just breaking even. Some people are losing money, looking for another way. Kind of catch me up on what your situation was for people who don't know you. Just like, I guess, a brief overview of where you were when we first had our conversation.
Yeah. So when we first had the conversation, I was buying leads, trying to figure out how to get these sales in. I made a couple sales, but it wasn't much of anything. I couldn't get people on the phone. I also didn't have the structure either. So, once I came in with you guys, and really started listening into some of the calls, saw the videos, saw the, doing the training, realized, that I was making the dials, but there was a lot of pieces missing. Part of it was focus on what I was doing. Part of it was, a decent script, because, I was doing things on the fly. I think the first 2 sales I ever made were just on the fly, like, hey, here's insurance. You want it?
Same.
And then of course, objection handling, right? Where we, started doing the objection calls, role plays, started listening, and I do a lot of listening, right? So listening to how other people handle their calls, seeing how it plays out with my calls, listening in on my calls. I hadn't been listening to my calls before. So all of that. And so that's what led to that week, which I'm trying to replicate now, but
yeah.
That's the game.
So I wanna kind of like touch on or break down what your process is for, like, I guess how you're getting leads and then how you're actually selling policies, like kind of like your overall system that you're running your business with. Because one of the things that I've noticed a lot in our industry is everyone is just kind of like winging it. Like they'll go out and they'll buy leads, or they'll get like a spreadsheet and then they take their phone and just start calling through, or they're buying leads from different vendors. Like, walk us through what is the system, what is the structure of how you like run your business from getting a lead, what happens next, and then how do you actually get them on the phone and close them?
Okay. So before, it was just trying to purchase leads, right? Because I didn't know how to get them otherwise. And then it would just dial what I could, and I kept getting sidetracked with everything. Now, it's all coming through Facebook. So get the Facebook leads coming right to the CRM. It goes into my dialer, and then I dial away. From there, I get someone on the phone. I go through the script, build the rapport, build the relationship, and ultimately, they're making the decision. I'm not selling them on anything. I'm not trying to get them to make any quick decisions. I just provide all the information at the time, and then they ultimately will tell me which way they want to go. And so far now, everyone, they want to get approved, so we want to go through the application, and so that's how I do it. I make sure that they don't feel pressured. I put that at the very beginning. I give them my trust statement, where I'm committed to what they want to do, and and I just stay calm on the phone, and that's it. I mean, I just had the last closes that I had yesterday and the day before were just hey, we can get you approved. Let's see what the carrier says. How do you want to proceed with that? Do you want that's it, and then they just say yeah. Then they just pick an option. They just go, yeah, I want this one. What can we do with it? And then we work through our ways to get the application going.
It's quite simple, the process of converting an insurance lead if you actually provide value. You mentioned that one thing that you did early on was like just go for the sale, basically. Like I did the same thing. It was like, hey, let me get you a quote, like let me get you a price, let me ask you some health questions, and then here it is.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody does. And like if you ever role play with people who have never been through like sophisticated insurance sales training, which most of us never did, and I only got to where I am from tens of thousands of mistakes and hundreds of thousands of phone calls that didn't work out and some that did, and that's how I kind of learned over time.
Yeah.
But I really like that you focused in on that. And one of the things, I had a conversation the other day that I wanted to get your take on. A gentleman I was speaking with was basically talking about how there's a lot of change that goes on in this business to get better, and how that made him nervous. And I want to kind of unpack like how you were feeling when you and I were going through and talking about basically like changing and restructuring your entire business, and like kind of what was going through your head and what really motivated you to take that leap of faith at the time. And I want you to kind of unpack that for us here.
I mean, I was just more excited than anything. Just knowing that it's possible. And then just hearing different strategies. More than anything, I was just excited to make any change that I needed to do. And then, I mean, from there too, I've actually expanded on. So, it started off with the Facebook leads. Now I'm partnered with, I'm getting partnered with banks, credit unions, other insurance agents. I mean, now, so we have a network where I'm getting leads through as well. So it's kind of blown itself up since that.
Yeah. Awesome. And so obviously, like from that progression, I think the biggest thing too is a lot of people are nervous about like, well, what if I don't sell a policy for X amount of time because I've got family obligations, I've got to work, I've got to do this, and like, it's interesting. I love your story because I believe you're still active duty military, correct?
No,
not active duty, reserve.
No, I'm done. I'm out.
Oh, done. Okay, cool. Congrats. So actually fully retired then, my mistake. But the thing that I really like about your scenario is that you're able to hit these types of numbers, but you're working 5 days a week from home. And from what I understand, I don't know your personal life. From what I understand, though, it seems like you're spending a lot of time with your family outside of work hours. And I think you're only working from like 8 to 5, unless maybe a call runs over while you're closing a deal or something. But am I getting that right? Am I picking that up
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I don't do anything Saturdays and Sundays. That's dedicated to my family. My daughter and my wife. So Monday through Friday is the only time that I'll do any sales whatsoever. And so, I prioritize the appointments, and then I'll make calls in the middle. And yeah, I mean, that's, but when it comes to the fear or the worry, I mean, yeah, that's real, because I did have that. But at the same time, if you have people to call and you know and you know kind of what you're supposed to be doing, it falls into place. And that's really the thing that I say. Like, as long as you know what to say and how to say it, and you have people to reach out to, you're going to make your sale. It's when you don't have the pieces together. For example, let's say you have 3,000 people to call, but you don't know how to present. Well, you're not going to make a sale. Or let's say, you know how to go through a script and you know exactly what you're supposed to say, but you don't have anyone to call. Well, you got to put both together, and you got to make it mesh.
Yeah, and the one thing, and I want to pass this off to Tim in a second, because I'm sure he's got some valuable insights here. But the one thing that I see a lot of people doing is like they've basically got like one leg. I call it a one-legged business, right? They're hopping around on crutches. They've got like a CRM. It's half built out from someone who never even was in the insurance business. Usually, they're buying leads from someone who's either never sold insurance, or if they did, it was like for a week maybe, and then that's why they got into selling leads. And then best case scenario, if the CRM is actually somewhat organized, and if these leads know that it's even about insurance, they end up calling and going through a script that's one page with like 15 to 20 lines on it. None of them really make sense. It's disorganized. And it like, if I look at it and read it as an individual, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read the whole thing to begin with, or if I'm supposed to take a break and wait for them to respond. So it with the amount of organization that you've got going on, it seems like that's one of the biggest things. And I wanted to see about efficiency here. Just two quick takeaways, if you don't mind, on like what you're doing that makes you so efficient. Because there's people that would literally sell their left kidney to be able to spend the weekends and the evenings with their wife, kids, going out, doing, maybe playing golf. There's a lot of people who love golf in this industry, and just maybe even having time for friends versus like selling their soul. Break down the efficiencies for me, because I think that's one of the biggest things that you're doing better than most people.
So what I look at is what's important, right? That's my first thing. What's important? Most important thing is family, by far. The other part is, I tend to ask these questions is, what are things that you think about when talking to clients, right? And so having that positive mindset, but then the other part of it is, being efficient. Obviously, that's key, right? So obviously the workflows that we have set up, when a lead comes in, calling in that lead as soon as possible, following up with some text, keeping the contact there, and then reaching out if they make an appointment, just confirming that appointment, just constantly reaching out and touching base with the clients. And ultimately, you get them on the phone, and if they have time right there, then we'll go through the process and close. If not, then we're going to set an appointment, and I'm not going to give them any pricing until I know that they're actually ready for it. So, just an example from yesterday, I had a mom call for a term policy for 2 kids. I did a quick pre-qualification on it and said, yeah, so it looks like we're going to be able to do something for you, but are they around? Are they with you? No, they're at work. Great. Okay. Well, before I can continue, let's just make sure that they're available, because, they have to be able to sign their policy, and, I don't want to get too far down the road if they're not even available. So we have an appointment set up where she's going to be with her 2 kids. We'll be able to go through the application. I'll go through the quotes with them, and then we'll get them closed. So that's kind of how I do it, is I make sure that I'm hitting all touch points, whether it's through text, whether it's through email, whether it's through phone call. And that's the easiest way that I can say to do it. As far as organization goes, I mean, I have my notepads here that, when I'm talking, I'm making notes so I can put into the CRM later. And I'm also making sure that I know, like, so for example, let's say I call a lady and she's in the hospital. I'm going to make a note of that. And then when I call back or if I text, I'm going to say, hey, are you still in the hospital? Hey, how are you? Right. I'm going to make sure that they know that I was listening, that I care. And then when they actually do come to the hospital, that, I'm going to say, hey, so when did you get released from the hospital? How are things going? How are you feeling? And we're going to start that before I even get into anything life insurance related. I don't know if I fully answered your question. I hope I did, but
I think so. It seems like, and I want to make sure I just kind of like take this away, and I want to pass it to Tim here. The efficiencies that you're putting in place, realistically, it sounds like, are not wasting time on the conversations that aren't converting because people aren't around, because they have maybe they have a direct express card, but like sometimes it seems like a lot of trainers in this industry will tell you to just try and keep them on the phone if they're driving in the car, or if they have to leave, or if they're doing all these things. And we've talked about this, like fundamentally, that doesn't really make sense, because if they can't buy now, why would I try to continue the sales conversation versus just following up with them? But it's a mindset of desperation, because they're under the gun with putting this money into the leads, and they have this scarcity mindset because they can only buy so many leads because they're limited on capital, versus doing what you're doing and the way that we've done things. So I think
touching on that point. So, I'm not afraid to let a sale go. I'm not afraid to hang up. So usually in the first 30 seconds, I can kind of tell at this point if they're going to be going through the process or not. If they're not, I'll answer some questions. I'll do what I can, maybe go down the list a little bit. I'm ultimately not going to give out any numbers. And ultimately, we'll part as friends, and I'll get off the phone as soon as I can. But making sure that I still answer all the questions. Somebody that I can tell who wants a policy, I'm going to spend more time with. We're going to go through the steps. So that is something that you have to kind of figure out as you go through. Who are you going to be spending more time with, who you're not going to be spending more time with, and don't be afraid to walk away.
Discipline, yeah.
That's the hard part. Is a lot of times you're scared to walk away from something because you really want that sale. But ultimately, if you're helping, and this is something that a mentor told me, is if you are genuinely helping somebody and you really care about that person, the money's going to come, right? It's going to come through one way or another. So focus less on the money, focus more on the person, focus more on how you can help, and just being the best part of yourself that you can. Everything will fall into place. It always does. And that's one thing that I had to figure out, was to get that stress away, get the money side away. How can I help? And that's it. Yeah. How can I help?
Very, very true. Very true. Ben, I want to ask you something, because since we've been working together, your ramp up has been pretty steep, right? You went from 1 week, $797 in AP, the following week, $4,700 in AP, the week after that, $2,600 in AP, and then your $10,000 week, basically $10,000 week last week. So since working with us and since working with Advanced Agent Marketing, what do you think has been like the biggest or most valuable piece of the program that's allowed you to, see so much success so quickly and be on that track?
It's a mixture, right? So learning how to do the Facebook leads, the role plays, having, being able to just have question and answer periods, all of it. I mean, it's something where you put the pieces together and it slowly comes together, but then also being able to share and to get feedback, that all that's very valuable. And so that's kind of what's allowed me to do that and to get there. And so, I mean, and at this point too, because I'm building an agency, this is for every agent that comes on with me, I'm going to want them to be plugged in as well, because it's just too valuable to not be part of.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. You said everyone that comes onto your agency, you're going to be putting them through our training and our program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's my goal. That's what I want.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing that I've realized and just learned over time is the community aspect, and having other people that you can reach out to and talk to, and kind of just build I guess they call it a tribe of people that are all doing the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I've seen is probably one of the most valuable things you can have in terms of achieving a goal, right? If you're trying to go from point A to point B, if you have a group of people that are all set on the same path, set on the same goal, and are trying to achieve the same thing, it's just like, it's so much easier. And it's also more fun to do when you have people to do it with and you have people to talk to. Because I mean, let's be real, the telesales business, the work from home, work remote business, it can be really damn lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
You're just, cooped up in an office, making dials all day. It can be brutal, but having that community and other people really makes it so much better.
With that,
yeah.
with that, there's a quote that I love, and that is, success happens in communities, failure happens in isolation.
Yeah.
And that is the most true statement that I could think of. So that was, based on what you're saying. So.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. If somebody's watching this video and, maybe they've heard about our program, they get blasted by our emails, which I write personally every single week. And they're thinking about jumping in, but they're maybe like on the fence. What would your message be to that person?
Dive in. I mean, what are you going to lose? If you are just struggling, you got nothing to lose. Just give it a shot.
100%.
I mean, yeah. Ultimately, if you're doing your own business, you have to dive in head first at some point. And so, you have to take a plunge, and whether it's immediately or later on, ultimately you have to take that plunge. And if you want to be successful in your own business, because ultimately you're not a W-2 employee, you're working for yourself. And the only way any business owner really succeeds is they have to just go head first.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's one thing too, that like over the course of my business journey, like personally, I've had to get like a lot better with that. When I first got in, like spending $500 on a course was like, oh, like you really had to, hype yourself up to do that. And at this point, I'm addicted to buying courses and programs because I know that there's no better way that I can spend money other than like food and surviving than investing in myself and investing in my skill set, right? Like I'd rather put money into something that's going to make me more money and increase my income than get like 8% a year in the stock market. That's the way that I've kind of trained myself to think. And since I started doing that, and since I started investing in myself, which is obviously something you're doing as well, everything is like, it's really changed. Just you level up as a person so much faster when you're willing to invest in yourself.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, but with that too, you don't have to necessarily spend to do it, right? So, podcasts, you can do that as well, which I've done. YouTube videos as well. But then the other part too, build up your network, build up a partnership, right? Like, ad campaigns are great. If you're strapped on cash, work out partnerships. For example, I have reached out to a few PNC agents here in the area. And so now, if someone comes in wanting a home loan, or not home loan, but a home insurance, auto insurance, and then they say, but they're also looking for life. Well, a lot of PNC, they don't want to do the life side and they're not as familiar with it. Yeah. So they'll call me and they'll be like, hey, your life, let's see what we can do for my client. And then I'll either do, commission splits, or I'll just take on the client fully, depending on what they want. And so that's kind of how I built up my local network. And now, I'm actually spread out through multiple states on my networks as well. So through, and with health. And reach out to institutions. Like, I've reached out to multiple banks and federal credit unions. So, they usually typically only do accidental. They have a lot of clients that want more than that. And so you can be an affiliate, and they'll reach out to you and say, hey, we got some clients that are looking for life. Okay, cool. I'll help them. And so, and also build up your credibility as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like if you have capital, you can, like, you have two resources, right? You have time, and then you have capital. And if you have more money, you can save the time and you can just get leads and call leads. But if you don't have capital and you have a bunch of time, like going out and making those partnerships, and I mean, it's literally free leads. It definitely makes a ton of sense. So parting thoughts. What, like, for a new agent that's watching this, or someone like, if you could go back and give yourself a message, 2 months ago when you're first getting into the business, someone in your shoes, what would be like the biggest piece of advice or the biggest thing that you think would help out a new agent in that position?
Find a good support system. That's key, right? If you're brand new, you have no idea what you're doing, find somebody that's going to be able to show you the way. That's ultimately, because you can try doing it on your own. You might do well, you may not, but it's much easier. You'll learn more just learning from somebody, and then that way they can kind of guide you through the process, and then from there release, and then you're off to the races.
1,000%. 1,000%. Well, Julian, any parting thoughts?
No, I think this was super valuable. And I encourage the person that's watching this to maybe rewatch this, because most of our clients started off in a position where they didn't have a great experience buying leads, doing these things. I know that I started off that way. If you ever see my story, I was in multiple car accidents, working these Walmart gift card 5-6-year-old leads. So if you're watching this and you're like, dude, can this actually work? Like, can I actually do this? The system itself already works. The question is do you want to work it? And if the answer is yes, then the only thing that would prevent you from moving forward right now would just be yourself. And so, like, I always joke around, like, if I had this when I started, like, I would just have started building out an agency like Ben, and I would have been on an interview myself, and I never would have started this business. But ultimately, the grass is greener. You just have to water it, and you just have to show up and stand on the lawn. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching. If you liked videos like this, go ahead and like it. Click the subscribe button down below. Comment what your thoughts are, what questions you have. We're happy to answer them.
Yeah,
And
you guys have, we're going to include a link down below to apply to join the same program that Ben joined. So if you guys want to learn more about that, you can learn more in the link down below. And Ben, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
You can reach out to me either on Facebook, Batiste Family Life, Facebook page, bbinsurance.services. That's our website. Yeah, feel free to reach out.